Welcome to the Bigger Room podcast. I'm your host, Mel Cobian.
And I'm Jill Bender, and today we're going to talk about the power of one. I have recently been listening to an audiobook called The Power of One More. I don't know who it's by, so I could look that up. But and the idea is, the premise of this is, if you just did one more bit of effort, and that could be with anything you do. So if for our line of business, let's say we're spending a day just recording reels, you're ready to go to bed, you're like, you know what? I'm going to do one more. I'm just going to put in that last oomph. And that's going to set you a little bit further ahead for that next day, for that next set that you need to do. Now, have you heard that term before?
Yes, it's the term that has really been behind a lot of the epiphanies I've had in my life. I guess the most impactful one really has been after failing multiple times trying different business model, I tried one more time. It was easier for me to just be like, this doesn't work, it's not going to work for me, or this is a scam, people are lying. It would have been way easier for me to think that way. But instead I said, I'm going to try one more time. I'm going to try one more time. And I mean, here I am. My life completely changed.
And that's really interesting, because how you're looking at the one more is, we're going to give it one more shot. And the guy talking in the book could mean that. But how I interpret it is that, like, one more push of effort. And so I think about, even with school, like, I did not have great grades in high school and middle school. Even in grade school, I suffered. But when I was in college, it was like, it was up to me kind of thing. And I started really realizing, instead of being lazy and skipping some of the stuff I was trying to do, I was putting in that one more bit of effort to push myself a little bit farther ahead than even the teacher was telling us to do. And that would always make me feel like so good. I knew the answers right when I was sitting in class. I knew the answers more than any of the other kids, because I was putting in like that one more, like, really strong push of effort to get me ahead. Instead of I didn't want to just be like where I was supposed to be. I wanted to be ahead. That's kind of like how I've taken it.
Yeah, well, that extra one, like whether it's posting one more time, sometimes it's like read one more page, read one more chapter, whatever the task may be, just doing one more, going that little extra mile can make the difference. Because sometimes, have you ever seen that picture of somebody mining? Like it's like they're underground and they're mining. And if they were just to hit the axe one more time, there's like a whole bunch of diamonds that are just ready to fall off the wall. But no, instead they turn around. So I love that visual so much, because it's a representation, I feel, that we see time and time again. It's like, oh, it's just one more. But then you create that habit, and going and, doing that extra work or going that extra mile becomes your new baseline. That's also what I have found, is you raise your standards by reading one more page, reading one more chapter, posting that extra reel, whatever it is, you raise your standards.
100%. And he even talks about raising your standards, and it becomes your new standard. And it's a good spot to be in. It is a really good spot to be in. It makes you feel good. It puts you ahead. You have a much better shot at success.
I was just thinking about, how sometimes you're kind of enjoying yourself, like eating, I don't know, chocolates, or even just yesterday, my wife made these like peanut butter cups, and we're like, oh, just one more, and then we ate them all.
The power of one.
So more. In that case, the power of one more.
You guys are both sitting on the couch now, not doing anything.
Yeah, she's like, I am not making these anymore. You're bad at this. And I'm like, listen, I haven't enjoyed myself. Just one more.
I mean, it's still true. The power of one more, it had just a different effect. Maybe,
Yeah,
maybe not.
not in that context, guys.
Right, right. But we can talk about it in like in a physical sense for going for a walk. Like, oh, you know
Yeah.
what? I got my 25 minutes done, but I feel really good. So I'm just going to push it for another 5 more minutes, or I'm going to add in 1 more mile, or, that's never going to
Yeah,
be a bad choice.
absolutely. And you'll realize too that when you start kind of challenging yourself in that way, sometimes like, you may be cycling, running, walking, whatever, you're like, I'm gonna go the extra half a mile, I'm gonna go for another minute, I'm gonna run for 1 more minute, I'm gonna do an extra set, whatever it may be. You realize like you can do it, and sometimes you get that feedback of, I really actually haven't been pushing myself, because
Yeah.
you can do one more, right? So you've ever felt that where you're like, oh, that was
Mhm.
actually not that bad. And so that in turn, becomes your new baseline. And then you're like, well, technically, I could do this for 15 minutes instead of, 12 or 10 or whatever that you were doing. But also, that is why people plateau, not just in fitness, but in life, business. You become stagnant, and you're in this plateau of not seeing results, because your baseline is comfort,
Yeah.
right?
Your standard. You set your standard.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. There's this very beautiful quote. I can't recall who I learned it from, but it was basically the feedback of whatever your life looks like right now, it's a reflection of your minimum standards. Yeah, because it's true. You're living the life of your minimum standards. It's not necessarily a bad thing. It really just makes you take a step back and take accountability of, I am where I am because these are my standards right now. And it's my minimum, because we all have minimum standards, because there are things we would never do, such as whether that's, physically letting yourself go, letting your business run to the floor, not showing up for work, things like that. But you have standards. We all do.
Mhm. Mhm.
But some of us are living our life by our minimum standards.
I would say most people are living their life
Most
by
people.
minimum. Yeah. So
Absolutely. Yeah.
so if you want to get forward or move forward, you need to raise your standard. And you absolutely
Yeah.
can. You just do one more. I
One more.
with you guys you some listeners, if you have been listening a while, you know that I have a personal trainer, and she'll tell me she just had me do some exercise the other day where I was like, how many more do I have? And she said, you have 8 more. I'm like, oh my God. And so I did my 8 more. And I said, how many did I do? Like 104? And she's like, you did 24. Like, okay, but you never had me do 24 before. And she's like, no, normally you only do, like 18 or 12 or whatever. And she said, we're raising your
Yeah.
standards. I'm like, all right, well, she said, you did them. I'm like, I did do them. You're right. I can do them. I did do them. And
Exactly.
yeah, we just have to let ourselves leave that little comfort zone and get
Yeah.
uncomfortable for just a minute, and then you'll see how much you can do, what you're capable of.
That minute of discomfort rewards you with such empowerment after, that is
Mhm.
unlike any other high that you can get anywhere. That feeling
It's
of,
not.
I just did that, I just accomplished that, I just finished that task, I just read an extra chapter, and that feeling of empowerment was just the best way I could describe it, at least for myself. That's how I feel. I feel so empowered when I go above and beyond your expectations. You're like, yes, yes. And then all of a sudden, your energy goes up, and then you start applying that power of one more everywhere else. When you get a workout in and you break a record, now you want to go break records everywhere else. You're like, oh, I'm really gonna apply the power of one more everywhere.
Makes you want to do push-ups.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just that feeling makes you feel alive,
Yeah,
you
it
know?
does.
I
It
I
does.
and that's what we're here to do, guys. We're here to feel alive. We're here to be shaken to our core. We're here to find our strength, to raise our minimum standards Otherwise, when you fall back into living in that stagnant point of view, what a waste.
One of the ways that I would look at this is when you think about a kid, and if you encourage a kid to do something that they hadn't done, and then they do it, and then they look at you and they just smile like, "Oh my god, mom, I
Yeah.
just did that." That's
Yeah.
exactly like the feeling. That's the same feeling that I feel like these kids, have when they complete something like that. It's that same
Yeah.
feeling that you're like, "Oh my god, I just did that. I just did it. It was scary, it was hard, I thought I wanted to be lazier, but I wasn't, and now I feel
Yeah.
amazing."
It really also ties back to the it's just that human side of us that is always looking to be hibernating with everything, not just like physically working out, but there's always a part of us that is like trying to preserve our energy because we're in that fight or
Mhm.
flight. Because when you're living your life in that fight or flight, you see everything as a threat, so your body isn't necessarily driven for that extra energy output, whether it's physically or mentally, because even mental energy output, whether that's reading or you have to accomplish tasks, there's still a part of you that you have to give. And if you're living your life in that fight or flight, emotional reactive state, take a deep breath. Right, take a deep breath and pull back, because what I have seen is people who are really stressed out are living their life from that survival. And so when you're living in survival, that's that's probably why you're not motivated, right? We talk about motivation, but motivation doesn't last because motivation alone isn't what it takes. It's a it's an internal way of living. It's an internal way of being, an internal way of leading that you have to show up. You have to show up with that. It's not
And
motivation.
motivation comes and goes, that's for sure.
Correct.
Uh,
Yeah.
which is why, for sure, I hire mentors to motivate
Yeah.
me. And
Yeah.
that's why I hire personal trainers to push me to do more. Because if I was just doing some push ups in my house, I would do them until my body felt like I didn't want to do them anymore. And my mind would be like, yep, we should probably stop. We got 4 in. We're
Yeah.
good.
Yeah. You've put the stepping stones in front of you that you require to maintain your standards because you've raised them. And that's okay, right? Because we all, I mean, I pay people too, because I know that I won't get certain things done. Like I would rather pay them because we all have to have these stepping stones in front of us to uphold us to our higher standards. So that's a good thing to inventory, is what can I delegate so that I do maintain my high standards.
I am the
What do I
queen,
need to
queen
do?
of
Yeah.
delegation. I love it.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah. You bring up a really good point though, that maybe some people are living in that kind of, fight or flight survival mode, and they're so drained that the thought of doing one more is just out of reach. Maybe there's something for you guys to delegate, if you can, to allow you to focus on the things that you're good at. Because I promise you, those feelings of feeling empowered, of feeling alive, that's what we're here to do.
That is what we're here to do. If the idea of hiring somebody is scary to you, if you're not at that point, throw on a podcast. Listen to our podcast. Listen to it over. Listen to other episodes. Like, we definitely are. Mel and I want to inspire and motivate and really try and get you guys out of your comfort zone to do more for yourself
Yeah,
and better yourself. So throw on podcasts. They don't cost anything. Like, that's free on your phone.
exactly. And we live in such an amazing time. If you're somebody who has thought about starting a business, I mean, just a really quick breakdown before we started recording this podcast, Jill was sharing some of the ways that she has generated passive income this year. And there are so many softwares that exist and will continue to exist that will make things easier. And it's just a matter of you're always gonna have to put that time up front regardless of what you want to do. No, there is no shortcut. There is no
No,
shortcut.
nope.
But when you're sick and tired of being sick and tired, when you're ready to try one more time, when you're ready to, watch that extra video, when you're just ready to put in the work, that reward of empowerment is just so worth it. And you'll realize, why didn't I do this before? You
Mm-hmm.
weren't ready. You just weren't ready. Everything will happen for you as it's meant to. And we're just here to pass word and see if it awakens anything in you to take action.
And I can tell you, based on what Mel just was talking about, when you do put some effort in and then you start seeing some monetary rewards, those are even better. And those are better motivation to get you to do one more and one more and one more. But yeah, when you start seeing dollar signs roll in, you're like, hell yeah, I'm excited. Let's go. I'm getting more. I'm doing more.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
to add to that, what I've learned is if not you, someone else will do it one more time.
Uh-huh. Mel and I will do it one more time.
We will definitely do it one more time. And I'm so excited for what's to come. Just really want to emphasize AI is just, I was reading some articles of already the things and jobs that it's replacing. Like you can ask it for legal advice. This is really, really good. And it's just going to come and take so many jobs. And we can either learn to hate it or we can learn how to use it to our benefit to help us tap into it and learn how to monetize.
So the sooner
Yeah.
you jump in, that much further ahead you're going to be as all this stuff continues to develop.
Yeah.
It's going to be
Absolutely.
wild. We have a wild
It
future ahead of us.
we yeah, I keep thinking 10 years from now I can't even picture. I mean 10 years ago, it feels like we were so behind. So imagine 10 years from now, it just feels like we're going to accelerate that much faster. This isn't the time to be lazy. This is the time to
Nope.
really
One more.
apply the power. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, 100%. My son right now, I don't know why, but he's 8 and he has been asking me the craziest question. Mom, were Band-Aids invented when you were little? Mom,
Oh
did
God.
they have? I know, like he has asked me stuff. I'm like, do you think I lived when Jesus lived? Like, what are you asking me this? Like, yes, we had, whatever. It is the funniest things that he's been. Mom, I can't even think of another one that is so funny to me. I'm like, what are you talking about? Yes, we had phones. Like, and then there was a show and there was a rotary dial phone. He's like, that's the phone you had when you were little, right? I'm like, no, we had buttons that we push. Like, and we had
Yeah.
cordless phones. Oh, he asked if credit cards were invented when I was little. So
Were
I did
they?
have to ask. Yeah, but I did have to ask Alexa. And she
Yeah.
said they were invented in like I think 1958.
Oh
She
wow.
said,
Really? That far back?
yeah, because I told him I said I think they were invented, but I have like some good memory of when my parents actually got one. Like I remember it was
M-
like a big exciting thing,
yeah.
but
Me
it wasn't
too.
when they were invented.
Yeah, but even till this day, my parents do cash. I rarely know anybody who has cash. Like they get their check and they go deposit it, but then withdraw cash. They're so weird.
Really?
Um,
I like
yeah,
cash.
yeah.
I love cash actually. I love when I can
I
pay with
think
cash.
I think it's cash is dirty. But you know what's funny about
Yeah.
cash? When I do have it in my mind, have you seen the videos about girl math?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
Some
if I
yeah,
have cash,
I've done
yeah, it doesn't exist. It's free money.
oh yeah, I usually spend it faster when I do have the cash, but I like
Yeah.
cash. And a lot of like mostly these fish stores that I've been going to, I get
Cash.
charged extra when I use my credit card or even my bank card. So Yeah,
Yeah,
she's like,
that three
the way to go there.
3%. Yeah, 3% fee.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
actually, I just paid for my son's hockey yesterday, and I saved $60 off of the season for using an electronic check. So putting in my check number versus using my debit
Yeah.
card, which was really interesting.
Interesting. That's a
I know.
very interesting one. You know,
Yeah.
I've definitely gone into places that no longer accept cash, but I've also run into the same issue where they don't accept cash, but they charge you some sort of convenience fee if you use
Mhm.
a electronic card. So yeah, we're all over the place with that one.
We're all over the place, but it's it's all still
Yeah.
new.
Yeah. Yeah, it really is. I mean, again, with the AI, soon enough, they're just gonna scan your eye and then there we go.
Oh no! There's
Or the
like
thumb.
Total
Y-
Recall had like a lot of crazy futuristic
Yeah.
things. I don't remember
Yeah.
any of them now that I mention
I
it,
have
but
the book right here by the what is it called? The 1984 by George Orwell. Did you ever see that movie or read the book? It's banned now
is
from
that
schools.
is it called 1984? I feel like I'm
Mhm.
familiar with it. Don't really know
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. That's a
So
whole other topic about banned
I
books.
oh yeah.
You guys, this is
We
how fast 10 years changed a lot.
and you know what's so crazy is twice now this week I was in the car by myself, like my son's not in the car. I was driving and I was learning so much. So my son has starry night reed frogs and we want them to breed. And I drove for
Mm.
45 minutes asking Alexa in my car, like, how many tadpoles will starry night reed frogs have? I'm like, I'm learning all about these frogs on the way to on my drive because I just kept asking her because she's in my car. And then today
Yeah.
I was driving somewhere else. I was in the car for 15 minutes and I don't even remember what I was asking her, but I was like, man, I learned a lot from her in my car. I freaking love
Yeah.
her.
Yeah. And that's exactly what it's gonna be like. Um, you could just do that during your drives instead of talking to someone on the phone, just back and forth with AI, and learn something that way. But you can get so many answers, so many. It's quite interesting. Um, but I see exactly how it will replace 85 million jobs because even like for example, like fitness, personal trainers, I used to play around with it a lot, and it can write workout plans, taking into consideration um compensations that people have, like if their feet turn out, knees go in, things like that. Same with like nutrition. It can calculate everything. So think about
Everything.
that.
Like, think
Everything.
about this. If you wanted to get a raise, but you don't
Hmm.
have any idea how to approach even bring up the topic, you can have it write a scenario for you. Several
Yeah.
scenarios. You pick the one that's
Oh my god.
you're most comfortable with. AI is going to replace your job, so start doing the power of one more right now so you are not replaceable.
Yes. Yeah, 100%. It's gonna happen. It's not a question of if. It's a question of when.
But I do want to just say, if you are the one that's going to take that extra little bit of effort and do that one more piece of effort, you are going to be in the group that maybe won't be replaced as easily. All the other people that refuse to get out of their comfort zone, those are going to be, what did you say? 85 million jobs are going to be replaced by
Yeah.
AI. Yeah,
Yeah.
don't be in that category. Like, just give a little bit more effort. Power of one more push, one more little bit of effort.
Love it. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. As always, make sure you like and subscribe. Share this with anyone who needs to put the power of one more behind their action. And we'll see you next week.